Good morning, Max.
Oh, yeah, good morning, sweeties.
You don't seem like your usual sparkling self today.
I'm always like this before I go in front of an audience. I'm working up to it.
Tee-hee. Oh, tee-hee. Don't get nervous, Maxie. Here, have a glass of milk. Regina!
How fabulous, my sweetie pie! My sweetie pie princess! You came to watch my performance today?
Of course I did. Mo told me that I should come and watch this. Mo said that? So, what kind of performance will you put on today? Let me guess, you'll fly at the end?
It's not that kind of show. Isn't that right, my sweeties?
Huh?
I think my sweetie pie princess doesn't...
Yeah, she doesn't seem to realize what's going on, or even where she is. Well, Max, it looks like it's time to raise the curtain. I'll see you later. Today I'm just a member of audience.
Fabulous. Enjoy yourself out there.
Good luck, Max. You're the best. Regina's different, don't you think, Nick? Top of the morning to you. Everybody, let's get ready to get stuck in legal limbo. How low can you go? Mo. Top of the morning to you, Governor. Top of the morning? That's the ticket. Attacking the day starts with energy in the morning. The early bird gets the worm, but then again, worms like higher brain function. Here, Max, I brought you a present. Have some milk.
Oh my, thanks.
So how are you today, right? Well, I've got the feeling that today I'm gonna face off against the real culprit. You mean Acro? Huh? You think he did it? Be careful. He's used to putting his life on the line. Literally. He's got guts to spare. If all I've got to worry about is how thin the tightrope is, I'm used to it already. It just means that I won't be able to press him like I can other witnesses. What are you gonna do then, Nick? I guess today we'll just have to do without our usual psychological warfare. Today we rely on evidence. It's the only way we'll get past Acro and to the truth. You're right, but it's gonna be tough. Anyways, I wanted to make sure that Regina sees it all today. It's important. Then she'll finally have to deal with the reality of what happened to her father. You want us to make sure Regina watches? Yes, that's why I brought her here to court today.
What's that supposed to mean?
She needs to know that when people die, they don't just become stars. I may be an old-fashioned clown, but I don't believe in people becoming stars.
Court is now in session for the trial of Maximilian Galactica.
The prosecution's ready, Your Honor. The defense is ready, Your Honor.
Very well, Miss Von Karma, you may proceed with your case.
The prosecution would like to revise its previous series of events.
What's the meaning of this?
We have discovered a new witness, or should I say, a new eyewitness. One that saw Maximilian Galactica fly off from the scene of the crime.
Order! I had a feeling something like this would come up.
Due to this revision, we are not prepared to explain how the defendant flew that night. An explanation the prosecution will present if the need so arises. In fact, my detective stayed up all night creating a mock-up of the scene on my orders. Poor Gumshoe!
Very well, please call your witness to the stand.
Time to get to work, or shall I say, time to walk the courtroom tightrope. Name and occupation. Ken Dingling, but everyone calls me Acro. I am employed as an acrobat at the Berry Big Circus. Therefore you as night is a crime. I was in my room that night. If you look at the map, you will see the witness's room is near the crime scene. My room is on the 3rd floor. The crime scene is below my window. The night of the crime, the witness saw something quite shocking. Would you tell us what you witnessed? Okay. What he witnessed. It was just after 10 p.m. and I was resting in my bed. And around that time I heard a large thump noise from outside the window. And then a few moments later I saw someone flying right by my window. It was Max Galactica. I only saw him from behind, but that's who it looked like. But, what? To be honest, when I saw that, I thought I was dreaming.
This witness's testimony matches up exactly with that of the clown.
If that's the case, there's very little the prosecution need add. All that's left is to explain how the defendant disappeared into the skies that night. Before we get that far, I'd like to cross-examine the witness. A foolish choice by a foolish fool, who wishes to feel the foolish sadness of a sad fool. A man must know the proper timing for things, Mr. Phoenix, right? Just like your old friend, Mr. Miles Edgevest did.
Mr. Wright, do you have a problem with the witness's testimony?
In the words of Miss Von Karma, may I quote yesterday's proceedings? There's no way that actually happened.
Very well, you may proceed with your cross-examination.
Wow. Can't believe that worked. It was just after 10 p.m. and I was resting in my bed. You said that you were resting in bed? One would thus assume that you turned the lights off in your room, correct? That's correct. But there are safety lights around the outside of the lodging house. It's so bright sometimes it can make it hard to sleep.
If that's the case, wouldn't it be a good idea to close some curtains?
I never really thought of that. I guess that means I'm off to buy some curtains.
Ha ha ha! Sometimes I do make myself useful in these chambers.
Ow! The witness will proceed with his testimony. Alright. Around that time, I heard a large thump noise from outside the window. Your room is on the 3rd floor, right? Yes. And you said that you were resting in bed. That is correct. But you were still able to hear a sound from outside? I was indeed. Pressing Acro doesn't seem to get results. But maybe something was contradictory in what he said just now? I don't think there's a contradiction there. Well, sure. There is a huge contradiction with the testimony that was just given. Uh-oh. If there's contradictions, I prove it with evidence.
She's right. Let's see some evidence. Do you have any evidence to support your claim of a contradiction?
Okay, yeah, I think I've... yeah, I fucked it up. Okay. Fuck. The monkey!
This... What in the world is this?
Ow! You just don't get it, do you, Mr. Phoenix, right? What don't I get? You're not going to be able to get through this one with your usual bluff routine. Your client looks to be ready to take off once again. Straight towards a guilty verdict.
You were bluffing? I will not forgive any more mockeries made of this court.
Whoops! Witness, would you mind repeating your testimony? Certainly. Okay, so let's all just believe that he could have heard that noise and move on. Okay. Then, a few moments later, I saw someone flying right by my window. Are you sure it was a human being? It could have been a mannequin or perhaps a large action figure. Well, setting aside the possibility of a mannequin, an action figure is possible. You have no need to mince words with Mr. Phoenix, right? Testifies to the truth and only the truth, just as if we were there with you that night. I believe he was a human. Damn, I just strengthened his testimony. I wonder if Acro's statement jives with the facts. No, it's fine.
What's the matter, Mr. Wright?
Nothing, Your Honor. Until I can find a clear contradiction, I should tread lightly. It was Max Galactica. I only saw him from behind, but that's who it looked like. The light in your room was turned off then, right? That's true. I was going to bed after all. So with the lights off, you're still able to clearly see a human fly by your window? The safety lights lit things up enough for me to see. But honestly, there was only enough light for me to see the silhouette outside my window. It was a person's back, so I couldn't see the white roses on the front.
Did you see any of the other symbols?
I clearly saw the silk cat, as well as a cloak wrapped around his body. I'm convinced that the person I saw was Max Galactica. The more I press him, the less results I seem to get. But maybe there was something fishy with his latest bit of testimony? I think so. There's a huge contradiction with the testimony that was just given. If there's contradictions that prove it with evidence.
She's right. Let's see some evidence. Do you have any evidence to support your claim of a contradiction?
How do you explain this, Your Honor? You claim to have seen the exact same thing Mo saw that night. Do you stand by that? What do you mean? The silk cat? What about the silk cat? I saw it on Max's head as you flew by my window. Well, you should have tried looking down out of your window that night. That would have been quite difficult considering the state I'm in. Just looking outside of the window was a tough enough challenge for me. That's a shame, because you would have noticed the silk cat found in the scene. That's the ringmaster's hat, right? Afraid not. No matter how you look at it, this is Max's silk hat.
Where are you going with this, Mr. Wright? Are you saying that Max has two silk hats?
No, this is a handmade, one-of-a-kind model made only for Maximilian Galactica. Which means, Acro, that you've been fibbing on the stand. Take that.
Order!
As always, it looks like someone just had to open their mouth before thinking. Are you okay, Nick? Well, I opened my big mouth, and now I have to back it up.
How about it, Mr. Wright? What would cause this witness to commit perjury in this court today?
It's obvious that what Acro saw, he didn't actually see at all because it was a dream. So you plan on writing off all the inconvenient facts as nothing but dreams. Maybe you should just pinch your cheeks and see if you're actually awake. Ow! I think your whip proof this isn't just a dream just fine.
Mr. Wright, how about you provide an answer that actually explains things?
Are you okay, Nick? Well, I opened my big mouth and now I have to back it up.
How about it, Mr. Wright? What would cause this witness to commit perjury in this court today?
All in, baby. Your Honor, on this occasion the defense accuses Acro himself. On this occasion?
Accuses Acro? What in the world are you accusing him of?
Obviously, we accuse him of the murder of Mr. Russell Berry.
Mr. Wright, are you serious?
Deadly serious, Your Honor. Ha ha ha. I think your trips to the circus have served you well. You seem to have learned how to try to grab at an audience's heart and mind. Your Honor, don't allow yourself to be swayed by his theatrics. Trying to wow the crowd with smoking mirrors is the oldest bluff in the book.
Really?
If you don't believe me, just look at the witness. He is calm enough for it to be almost scary. He's staying rather calm and collected. Ow, ow.
Mr. Dingling, do you have any response to the defense's accusation?
I don't really need to say a thing, do I?
What do you mean?
Everyone, take a good look at me. I can't even stand up by myself, let alone leave the lodging house.
That's true?
I understand that Mr. Wright is just trying to help his client. But to do this by accusing me of a murder of all things? See? Even a sliver of common sense makes it clear the accusation is ludicrous. She's right! Way to pick on the disabled, you heartless cruel man!
Felix is a poopy head.
See that, Mr. Felix Wright? If you're trying to drum up support from the peanut gallery, that's how you do it. I think that's enough of this little game. I've got a doctor's note to confirm that Acro is unable to stand under his own power. Maybe the defense is planning on making a claim to counter this as well? I can hear the defense now. Acro had an accomplice.
What do you say about this, Mr. Wright? Did Acro have an accomplice?
Yes? I mean, it could have. Well, no. You know what? No. Now then, this must be when we get to hear the name of the mystery accomplice. Not this time, Von Karma. What? You're not gonna sucker me into this one.
What are you blabbering about, Mr. Wright?
There was no accomplice. Acro planned and committed this murder all by himself.
All by himself? Order! What are you getting at?
Way to keep them on your toes, Nick. Now I'm gonna have to prove how it all fits together. I have to show how Acro murdered Russell Berry. Can he do it, Nick? Can he really do that? I know what I can do. I can't stop now. If I stop attacking, I'm doomed. Alright, then let's do it. Mr. Felix Wright, if this witness is the killer, then his eyewitness account is all lies, right?
Mr. Wright, I'd like you to clear something up for me. When the crime was committed, exactly where was Mr. Dingling?
Well, we already stated that he can't be anywhere, so... He's in his room. He was obviously here the entire time.
That's Acro's room?
Pretty simple, eh? Acro was unable to leave the lodging house by himself. In that case, there can be only one correct answer. Acro didn't leave his room to kill the Ragmaster. What? Are you nuts?
What say you, Mr. Dingling?
It's an interesting theory. That's it. Considering that what you propose is impossible, yes, that's it.
Mr. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor?
As the witness has stated, your assertion is impossible. As he is in a wheelchair, there's no way he could go to the scene or be the killer.
You've got a point. It seems you've forgotten once again, Mr. Phoenix Wright. The defendant was clearly spotted at the scene of the crime. That's true. Mo said that he saw Max, didn't he? But Maya, it's still impossible for humans to fly. Do you mind if I ask a question, Mr. Wright? What is it? I understand some of your logic. However, how do you think that I killed him? If I can't leave my room, I obviously couldn't wear Max's costume. How did he do it? That's the next course of this legal buffet. Be careful, Nick. If you mess up here... She's right. I'll get kicked out. Can't mess up here. I've got to give this some serious thought. I'm sure that Acro killed the Ringmaster, and he did it while he was in his room. No doubt about it.
Time to enlighten us as to how Mr. Dingling committed the crime, Mr. Wright.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna present some evidence.
So what did Mr. Dingling use to commit the crime of murder against Russell Berry?
The bust.
But what's that? A picture?
It is indeed. The problem is with the item that's shown. The problem is with the item that's shown in the picture.
The bust?
It's quite a large bust, and because it is life-sized, it's also very, very heavy. Heavy? Heavy enough to guarantee a certain death, especially if it was dropped from a third-story window. Ah! See, this is how Acro was able to kill the Ringmaster, with the force of gravity and Maximilian Galacticus' ample bust.
Order! So, you're saying that the bust fell onto the Ringmaster?
A rather simple crime. Even if you were stuck in a wheelchair, it would be incredibly easy to commit. How could you possibly wheel a wheelchair with something so heavy? It's impossible. Well, Acro is an acrobat. He should have He should have more than enough upper body strength to carry something like that bust.
Mr. Dingling, how do you respond to these charges?
Well, Acro's a loss for words. He should be. He knows that I'm getting close to the truth. Well, Acro, you can't run away from things. Ow! I'd watch what I say if I were you, Mr. Face, right? What? Your Honor, the physical health of the witness is material to this case. I demand that we get public testimony from the witness himself.
Testimony you say?
For karma. She's just using this testimony as a ruse to stall for time. There's absolutely no need for such testimony. The defense has its version of the murder, the prosecution has the right to respond.
The defense's objection is overruled.
Why can't he see things my way once in a while?
Mr. Dingling, I'm sorry, but we need you to testify about your physical condition. If you have any doubts about your ability to testify, we can request expert testimony.
The witness will have no problems. However, let's all be respectful towards him. Thank you. Arg, that woman will sink to any load to win a case. Oh boy. I suppose I could have lifted something the size of that bust. I have a strong upper body from working as an acrobat, and only my legs were injured. However, lifting the bust and looking out the window would have been impossible. There's no way I could have exerted that kind of force on my lower body. That makes it impossible for me to have known the location of the ringmaster's head. Thus, it would be unrealistic for me to drop the bust on him, don't you think?
I have no doubts in regards to this witness's testimony.
It was impossible for him to lift the bust and stick himself out far enough to look. Not to mention that he could not have known the location of the ringmaster's head. A single false step would have led to even more severe injuries.
That's what I was thinking. What is your opinion on the matter, Mr. Wright?
I'd still like to proceed with my cross-examination. He's simply stalling. It's shameful, really. Grr, I can't let her get to me. I've got to focus. I suppose I could have lifted something that says bust. Have you ever lifted up the bust before? No, I have never actually lifted it up with my own two hands. But I should get to it. Don't you think? I can't let money outdo me on this. Money? That crazy monkey has lifted Mance's bust before?
Please continue with your testimony, Mr. Dingling.
I have a strong upper body from working as an acrobat, and only my legs were injured. So what have you been doing to keep up in shape? Well, honestly, I've given up on training. I don't have any plans to return to the trapeze with a tight rope. You don't say. But, no offense, I'm not worried about losing to you in a race or anything. Neither am I, Mr. Face, right? I wouldn't lose either, Slowpoke. I mean, Nick. Whoa, how did this discussion turn to me all of a sudden? I suppose you could say that I'm stronger than the average bear. What? However, lifting the bust and looking out the window would have been impossible. And why is that? Because if I were to do that, I end up falling out of the window myself. I still haven't got much feeling back in my legs yet.
So you couldn't have thrown that bus out of the window.
There's no way I could have exerted that kind of force on my lower body. How long do you think your recovery will take? You have to remember that my nerves were severely damaged. I'm currently undergoing some extremely intensive rehabilitation, but it's still going to take a while before I'm back to 100%. Let me remind you of another very important point. If the witness was carrying the bust, he would not be able to see below the window. That makes it impossible for me to have known the location of the ringmaster's head. Why do you say it would be impossible? Allow me to explain. You accept that if I was carrying the bust, I couldn't see out below the window? Thus, there is no way out of knowing the location of the Ringmaster's head. Well, I suppose you've got a point. Hey, Nick. Huh? What if you turn things around? Maybe if you think of it sort of like this. If you knew the location of the Ringmaster's head, then he could drop the bust. That does make sense. If only I could prove somehow that Acro knew the location of the Ringmaster's head without looking down. I think I've already explained things sufficiently. Thus, it would be unrealistic for me to drop the bus on him, don't you think? If all you had to do was drop it, then it wouldn't have been a problem at all. If all I had to do was drop it, you're right, I could have done that. However, there is no way that I could land a direct hit on the Ringmaster's head.
So that kind of makes your theory a bit pointless, doesn't it, Mr. Wright?
Acro is strong enough to lift up the bust. The main problem is how he could have aimed for the Ringmaster's head. I wonder if you used some kind of tool to aim for the Ringmaster. That's thinking, Nick. Show them what you got. I have to be careful. I have to find something that fits perfectly with the case. I don't remember us finding any sort of tool. Maybe you overlooked something. No. I think I know exactly what tool you used, Acro. Acro, you didn't really need to lean out of the window, did you? What are you driving at, Mr. Wright? You already knew ahead of time where the Ringmaster's head was going to be. Quite precisely, I may add. Your silly hinting at things is pointless, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Enough stalling. How about you show us some evidence? But I did such a good job hinting.
Yes. Hurry up and explain things, Mr. Wright.
Maybe you should take a look at this. The key point here is the wooden box.
The same wooden box that the victim was found hunched over?
The same. The question is, who placed the wooden box here? Who? When Ben and company saw the Ringmaster, they didn't see him holding the box. Which means that this wooden box was already placed at the scene of the crime.
I have to admit that your theory makes a lot of sense.
The moment that the bus came falling down was exactly the same moment that the Ringmaster lifted up this wooden box. Which means that the answer to all these questions is now crystal clear. You mean...
If the bus were to fall upon the point marked out by the wooden box,
there would be no way that it could miss the head of the victim. No, 9.
Order! This is unbelievable!
Finally, some of these loose ends are starting to tie themselves up. Now I just gotta keep going. There's only one way to go from here. Forward.
So the next question I have is, who placed that wooden box at the scene?
It was Mr. Dingling, of course. He connected it to a rope, and then all he had to do was lower it down. Ow! Allow me to whip some more sense into you. Mr. Phoenix, right? Ow! The Ringmaster's head could have been anywhere when he lifted the box. That's why the box was so specially made. Specially made? Indeed. It had the most peculiar feature. The box has a remarkable weight. Weight?
According to the court record, it weighs 20 pounds.
Just to lift up this wooden box would have required...
Oh, I see. One would have to squat down to lift it up with their body, wouldn't you say?
That's exactly what I was trying to point out. The box is also very large.
The box also has carrying handles on either side, doesn't it?
That is correct. To lift up the box, you'd have to squat down. Which means that no matter who you are, your head would be in approximately the same place. Fool! Does he even bother to listen to me anymore? I've heard what you've had to say. Oh. I must admit, I'm shocked at your imaginative skills.
Did you do it? Did you place this wooden box in the plaza?
Mr. Wright may have a vivid imagination, but I could never have done what he's proposing. What? Mr. Wright, do you recall the original location of Max's bust? No. I kind of forget. Nick, don't tell me you're losing your memory already. No. Let's not get carried away. Hey, stick out your head a little. I've got just a thing. A Maya kick.
Enough of that! No horseplay in this courtroom, and no kick in the defense attorney. According to the court record, the bus disappeared from the cafeteria.
I'd like you to remember one important fact, Mr. Wright. I could not possibly leave the lodging house by myself. That means... You understand what I mean, don't you? I may very well have been able to drop the bus from my room. However, how would I have gotten the bus from the cafeteria to my room? Well, you see, Mr. First Wright explains that. Don't forget, you said there was no accomplice. Arrgh! Tell us exactly how the witness would have carried the bus from the cafeteria. Yep, we definitely have a problem here. But this is no place to get perplexed. I've got to get my wits about me and prove how things happen once and for all.
Alright, Mr. Wright, let's hear your explanation. How did the witness get the bus from the cafeteria back to his room?
With the help of a little monkey, Your Honor.
A monkey?
Everyone knows money. He loves shiny objects of any size.
Oh, like when he stole the ventriloquist ring.
So, are you saying the witness had a monkey steal the bust? Of course he didn't order the monkey to steal it. The monkey saw it on his own, and then brought it back home.
Home?
Money lives in Acro's room.
Acro's room?
But the bust was bronze, wasn't it? Bronze isn't all that shiny. Maybe you should put the whip down sometimes to read the court record.
My, those are some very nice cars he's holding.
Yes, and they're made of platinum, which is very shiny. Gawa! Acro? Money is a strong monkey, right? It'd be easy for him to bring the bus back to your room. But if he wasn't able to handle that himself, I'd be on the market for a new roommate.
Order! I said order! Miss Wankama! Where is the bus in question at this moment?
I don't know. We're searching for it as we speak.
This is a rather strange turn of events. But let's say that the monkey had not stolen the bust. What would have happened then?
Well, in that event, something else would have been used as a murder weapon. Wait. Then you mean this bust was a murder weapon? Purely by accident? It's possible. Maybe Acro saw Money's mountain of stolen goods and thought to use one of them. Anyways, I think we've more than proven one critical fact. Namely, that it was entirely possible that Acro was a murderer. Moron!
Mr. Wright's argument was so circular, I'm still a bit dizzy. However, his argument does hold water. There's no denying that.
Ow! Don't seem so flamboozled, especially by this fraud of an attorney. Fraud? You've forgotten the absolute most important thing, Mr. Phoenix, right? And what is that? You should know. You forgot that your fraud of a magical clown was spotted at the scene of crime. Ow! There's no reason to doubt the clown's testimony.
That's true. How do you respond to that, Mr. Wright?
Nick, don't let him beat you now. Don't let her beat you now. I won't. This is my chance to turn this trial around. If as a matter of cards, there were two people at the scene of the crime. One was the victim, Russell Berry, and the other was the murderer himself. Answer this and only this, Mr. Phoenix Wright. Who was the murderer the clown saw? It was... the bust. Busted. He saw Max's bow! I asked who was the other person Mo saw on the scene. That evidence has nothing to do with the question. Au contraire, mon frère. It does indeed have something to do with the question. But Mo said that he saw Max's silhouette. But he did not actually see the man himself. It wasn't a human being he saw.
How is that possible?
It's simple, really. What Mo actually saw that night was Max's bust. What are you talking about? Have you tried using your brain at all in this case? To see what he saw of us wearing a cloak? There's no reason why you couldn't attach a cloak to the bust. It would be easy to hang one off of the cards in the bust's hands. Idiot! Who in their right mind would put a cloak on a bust? It doesn't matter who put it on the bust.
Just wait a minute now, Mr. Right. Who put the cloak on the bust? That question is of the utmost importance in this case, don't you agree?
No, he caught me.
So let's have it, Mr. Right. Who put the cloak on the bust?
It was Russell's coat. Fool! Him?
You are saying it was the victim himself, Russell Berry?
That's what I'm saying. The victim himself puts the cloak on the bust? Place the cloak isn't really the right way of putting it.
Then what would be the right way of putting it, Mr. Right?
Explain yourself. Nick, do you really have a handle on all of this? I'm fine, Maya. I'm finally putting all the pieces together. There's really only one picture I can paint anyways. Alright, so you want to know what really happened that night? Let's step back in time. Acro used a rope to lower the wooden box onto the scene. Then he attached that rope to the bust, and dangled the bust out of his bedroom window, directly above the wooden box. At the same time, the ringmaster told Max to wait in his room and went to the scene. Of course, at the time, the ringmaster was wearing Max's costume. Perhaps he didn't want anyone to recognize him that night. But just as he feared, he was spotted at the entrance of the lodging house by none other than a ventriloquist and his puppet, Ben and Trilo. When the ringmaster arrived at the scene, he bent over to lift the wooden box. And that's when Acro took his chance and released the rope. Now this is when the magic happens. At the very instant that the bust hit the victim, you wait just a second, Zamson, right? As much as you try, as much as you scheme, this just isn't true. It can't be. It's still a little early to be getting so upset, Miss Von Karma. This circus isn't over just yet. What? Shoo! Snap. The impact of the bust on the victim threw the cloak up, which snapped onto the bust. That impact also caused the sound of a certain witness heard. The sound a certain witness heard, prompting him to take a look. That witness was, of course, Lawrence Mo Curls, the clown. When Mo looked out of his window that night, the cloak had already snagged onto the bust. Now, having completed the crime, Acro naturally went about pulling up the murder weapon. Of course, he had no idea that Mo saw the bust being raised up with the cloak dangling on it. Primarily because in his wheelchair he couldn't see out of his window. So he just kept pulling up the bust. And that is how the magical murderer disappearing into the sky came to be. So you see, the only person who could have pulled this off is the one person who was able to drop the murder weapon from above the crime scene. Acro, it could only have been you. Acro's been playing mind games with all of us. He sure has. But he has come to the end of his rope now. So, what now? You've graced us with a rather long-winded tale. But do you have any evidence to prove that your fairy tale is true?
Evidence?
In this court, only two things matter. The power of evidence and the power of my whip.
Don't forget the power of my gavel as well. Mr. Wright, the prosecution brings up a good point. Can we see some evidence?
Nick, they say they want evidence. I just explained how there can only be one possible murder method. But there's still something unusual about Mo's eyewitness account. Unusual? A contradiction, actually. Okay, then use that and get out of this jam.
That's enough talking amongst yourselves. Proceed, Mr. Wright. Present some evidence to the court that backs your claims. I want hard proof that you have unraveled the trick to this magic case.
The problem is Max's 3 symbols. You know, the silk cat, the cloak, and the white roses.
Those symbols were a problem numerous times during yesterday's proceedings.
Yesterday there were 2 contradictions in Mo's testimony. The silk cat was one, the white roses was the other. But the theory I just presented explains all of these contradictions. You fool! Do you ever shut up? Max's silk cat was found at the scene of the crime. However, remember what Mo said yesterday? He testified that the criminal he saw fleeing the scene was wearing a silk hat. There's only one explanation for that. The silk hat that Mo saw was actually the Buster's.
Makes sense. If you look at it that way, then he did see the silk hat. Well, sort of.
Fine, you've got one, but what about the other contradiction?
The other contradiction?
Remember what that ventriloquist said in court? He said that he witnessed white roses in Max's chest that night. But the clown's testimony doesn't match. The clown said there were no white roses. I'd like to see you try and explain that one away. Can you do it, Nick? Of course, I can explain all of it. What was that? Please recall the incident when the cloak snagged onto the bust. If the cloak snagged onto the bust, what happened to the white roses? Bloop. Do you get it yet? If the cloak got snagged onto the front of the bust, it means that the white roses would end up on the back of the bust. Ah! Which explains why Mo didn't see them. The white roses were not visible because they were on the back of the back side of the bust.
Order! Order! This is quite the shocking state of affairs. Mr. Wright's theory still sounds a bit absurd to me. However, let's just keep going down this road for a while and see where it leads.
Let's do this, Nick. Then maybe Von Karma will finally throw in the towel. Well, so much for that theory. Mr. Wright, do you mind? What is it? You took the time to research our circus, didn't you? Well, yes, I did. Is there something making you think that I didn't? If you did, then maybe you'll understand why I think you're off track. Why is that? Motive. This witness feels an incredible depth of gratitude towards the ringmaster. Anyone with any relation to the circus is well aware of this. Thus, there is absolutely no way someone like this would kill the ringmaster. Your Honor, I'd like you to hear Acro's story. Learn about his relationship with the ringmaster and his life up until now. What do we do? There's no doubting that Acro deeply respected the ringmaster. Acro's motive.
It seems to me that this case isn't over yet. Very well. However, I feel this is a good place to take a break. I will listen to the rest of Mr. Dingling's testimony after recess. This court will now take a 10-minute recess. To be continued.